There are lots of stories about what goes on backstage and on the road between professional wrestlers. They range from the silly, like the British Bulldog putting a bunch of pigs in Vince McMahon's office before a show, to the really dark, like John Layfield threatening to rape another wrestler in the shower, rumored to be Brian Lawler, because Lawler himself sexually assaulted a woman. But that's par for the course in the wrestling world. Perhaps there's no more gross example than that of the legendary Rene Goulet. Rene Goulet is a retired French-Canadian wrestler. His greatest fame came when he, as the #1 Frenchman, teamed with Karl Gotch and won the Worldwide Wrestling Federation Tag Team title in December 1971. Shortly after that reign, he became a jobber to the stars. In modern times, though, Rene Goulet is more widely known for pissing and shitting in beds and hotels across the country because he's too lazy to get up and use the bathroom. Yes, this is true, or at least it's alleged to be true, according to a long-standing wrestling rumor. Throughout his career, Rene Goulet would check into hotels after wrestling, and during the night, if he felt the urge to go, he would simply stay in bed and piss and shit without getting up. That's really all there is to say to the rumor. There are no urban legends that explain whether Rene ever cleaned up his stained sheets out of consideration to the hotel staff. I'm guessing that if this rumor is actually true, he probably didn't. Regardless, is there a more disgusting behavior one could partake in than soiling one's own bed and not even bothering to get out of bed to avoid getting dirty? I can't think of a grosser behavior. The other wrestlers of the era, though, they must not have minded it too much, as Rene Goulet was employed with the World Wrestling Federation until 1997. When the 80s arrived and the WWF entered the rock and wrestling era, Goulet was doing a gimmick where he wore a red vest and only one glove on his hand. The red vest sort of resembled the red leather jacket that Michael Jackson wore, and the one glove on his hand very closely mirrored Michael Jackson, who is infamous for only wearing one glove. Rene Goulet was jobber to the stars by this time, but I have to say, if his gimmick was Rene Goulet, French version of Michael Jackson, there's no way of knowing how much money Vince McMahon pissed away by not going with that gimmick. In addition to being the World Wrestling Federation's answer to Michael Jackson, Rene Goulet is known for being the first wrestler to defeat Ric Flair back when the Nature Boy's career was just beginning. Goulet defeated him in his second ever match. Rene has also appeared in People magazine. In the March 11, 1974 issue, there was a photograph of Goulet trapped in a bear hug by Chris Taylor. Rene Goulet also has the distinction of having wrestled in the first ever WWF match televised on the USA Network, wrestling against Tito Santana. Rene even had a recurring segment on Tuesday Night Titans called Cafe Rene. Sadly, for fans born after the late 80s, Rene Goulet is a total unknown. For those born in the early 80s and before, he's likely best known as one of the World Wrestling Federation agents who would come out whenever there was a fight that needed to be broken up. Maybe the most notable example of this is when he and Pat Patterson came out to rescue the Ultimate Warrior, when The Undertaker locked him in a coffin in 1991. They used, among other things, hammers and drills to open a locked coffin. A lot of fans mock them for this, claiming that using a drill and hammer was a stupid way to open a coffin. I don't think that's what they were doing, though. I think those tools were meant to break a hole in the coffin so that Warrior could breathe. So it's more accurate to say that Rene Goulet is responsible for saving the Ultimate Warrior's life in the storyline. Do Rene Goulet and Pat Patterson get any credit for that, though? No. Unfortunately, in the end, all Rene Goulet's legacy seems to be is a mountain of hotel beds with piss and shit staining the sheets. This #1 Frenchman, this Canadian alternative to Michael Jackson, and savior of the Ultimate Warrior, deserves better, though. Thankfully, he's still alive. The real-life Robert Bedard was born on July 12, 1932 in Quebec City. I would love it if Rene did some shoot interviews and addressed this rumor because it overshadows the memory of his career. Rene Goulet is one of many wrestlers for whom there was so much potential. I think, in retrospect, it would have been funny if instead of Sergeant Slaughter, Rene was one of the Vince McMahon's stooges in the Attitude Era. That could have been funny. In terms of wrestling opponents, I think it would have been great if they did an angle where, when Ultimate Warrior was locked in the coffin, Rene Goulet should have tried to keep Pat Patterson from opening it. Then, when Warrior finally did get out, he would work a program with him, leading to a pay-per-view grudge match. It's likely that, even at age 59, Goulet would have been more entertaining in the ring than the Ultimate Warrior. That, and can you imagine a feud between the Ultimate Warrior and a white French guy who dresses like Michael Jackson? Can you imagine the promos this would have led to? Never has the phrase, "license to print money," been more appropriate. We never got it, though, as Warrior and Undertaker had a lackluster feud that did nothing for either of them. So, I hope this essay will encourage readers to watch the matches of the great Rene Goulet and appreciate the grappler's skill in the ring. Still, though, during the night, whenever I'm in bed and I have to go to the bathroom, I will always remember the number one Frenchman, Rene Goulet, as I make my way to the bathroom and dream of what could have been.